Good evening. I would like to begin the open part of our meeting this evening, and thank you all for attending and being patient with us. Some of our conversation in our closed meeting got a little long, and we apologize for that, but we are ready to begin our open part of our meeting. The first part is I'd like approval of the minutes from our August 12th meeting. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Thank you. I need approval of the agenda. Any changes, Dr. Brown?
No changes.
Okay.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any new public comments? I know that we have received some during the week, but nothing new today. Thank you. So beginning our reports tonight, our teachers were not able to be here. They did send in a few comments, and I will just distribute to you their comments. Really just very minor and kind of thanking us for things, and I will get those to you for you. The second report tonight is our student report, and I would like to welcome our student council reps tonight. They are both sophomores, young. I applaud you for taking on this challenge. Abigail Anderson and Alina Wagner?
Yes, Wagner.
Wagner. And so you may begin, and if there are questions, we will chat with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So as mentioned, I'm Alina Wagner, and I'm a 10th grader. Other than student council, some of the other things that I'm involved with at the high school are I'm a secretary for FFA, and I'm also a class officer for drama club. I'm also an a cappella and French club, and then some of the sports and after-school activities I do are I'm on the softball team, and I also participate in a lot of the theater programs at Waunakee. Right now, that's one act.
I'm Abby Anderson. Some clubs and sports I'm involved in are HOSA, forensics, pay it forward, and some sports I'm involved in are cross country involved and soccer and sprint.
We were going to start with just having some fun things that we have coming up at the high school. Most recent coming up is a home football game, which is going to be against Sun Prairie West, and that's going to be following one of our bigger wins against Monona Grove last week, Thursday, and the theme this week is USA.
And the band is also going to be playing at this event. It'll be our first marching start of the season, which is pretty exciting. Some sports going on right now are football, boys soccer, girls and boys cross country, which I'm involved in. We recently had a girls team win at a DeForest meet, and a boys team got second. Other sports are girls tennis.
We also have girls and boys volleyball. If you didn't know, our boys volleyball team is all new this year, so it's a new program that's starting up. I think they're just starting to play games, and they have, I think, about 11 players, so it's pretty good for a new program. We also have girls swimming, and then also not technically a sport, but auditions for the one act are starting next week, which is kind of like a sport in the sense that it's competitive theater, but a lot of the drama involved people are really excited about it. The play we chose this year is called How to Get Away with a Murder Mystery, and it's a comedy, and we just got audition materials today, and it seems like it's going to be a really fun show, so we're excited.
Homecoming is also this month on the 28th. We just got our class shirts that are available to buy. I know I've already seen ours, and I'm pretty excited.
And then along with homecoming, we have a whole homecoming week. So we'll have spirit days each day. There will be different dress up days. So we have jersey day or pajama day, for example. They also have dodgeball games, which would be each class is a dodgeball team, and they'll kind of play each other in a tournament style, which is really fun. I think they play after school. We'll have a pep rally for the football game as well. At some point we'll have a school speaker, and then we also have a penny war going on, which all of the funds that we get from the penny war will go to a charity or some sort of cause, and that's kind of a competition as well, where whichever class can raise the most amount of money will get some points at our pep rally.
And we have the club org fair going on tomorrow. Lots of people signing up for clubs, which I think is just a great opportunity for freshmen especially. I mean, we were freshmen last year and look where we are now.
Sitting at the board table.
And then we also have an opportunity for newer students, new student lunch that's coming up.
So another thing that, it's not technically new, but the phone policy has definitely been like a big talk this year. The actual policy itself we know isn't new, but just some of the consequences have been up. And it actually seems to be going pretty well. I know it was kind of a complaint at the beginning, but most kids aren't having a problem with it. We haven't really heard of many like infractions or complaints. I think the only thing that we've really heard is some complaints about like closed study halls and homeroom, just because sometimes you end up with nothing to do during those times. But we were talking about it, and we definitely think that's something that could get better as the year goes on, just since it's the first week, you don't really have a lot of homework or other like clubs or organizations going on yet. So I think that's definitely something that could improve as the year goes on.
Well, we're excited to be in this role.
Yeah. If you guys have anything specific or additional, let us know. We'll try to figure it out or answer the best as we can.
Thank you.
I love all the information. You guys did a wonderful job. Thank you, thank you. Anybody have any questions? And we will see you next month, and we'll be excited to hear about homecoming and all the things that are coming up. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Following that, if any board members have anything that they have attended in the last month and would like to report to the board?
I've been working with the high school students on helping to organize homecoming events. I know Jack's going to be driving his car in the parade. So
U-Haul trailer set to the side.
it's been really fun to interact with the students and see their leadership as they're organizing fun activities.
Fun. Anybody else have anything they want to share? All right, moving on to the start of the school year. We have almost a week. We do have 1 week done, so Dr. Brown will report out on what's been going on.
Yes, so I will just back up for a moment because I do want to thank a few people for some wonderful activities that preceded our students arriving last week. The Learning Fest was the week of August 12th, and I want to thank Amy and Tim for putting that together. It's a wonderful opportunity for me as a first-timer to walk through the middle school and see our teachers taking advantage of learning opportunities, but also our own staff presenting the information to our teachers. So that was wonderful. So thank you to everyone who participated in that and took advantage of the opportunity. Following that, we had new teacher orientation week, and so that went over really well with getting our new teachers up to speed in terms of curriculum materials and technology use during the week. So thank you to the team for leading that work, and thank you to Katie and Joan who came by that morning and gave words of welcome to our new teachers. We also had a leadership team training, took place on August 22nd. That was led by Tim. So our department chairs and leaders in the buildings came together and also engaged in professional development, so that was wonderful. Substitute teacher training went well. Thanks to Brian for putting that together. Tiffany, thank you for the role that you played in that day. I went over to provide words of welcome to our subs and learn a little bit about who they are and what they bring to our campus. The first day of school, our welcome back kickoff was great. Thank you to board members who showed up that day. There was positive energy in the room. We are thankful for Darcy Luoma, who wrote the book Thoughtfully Fit. We all want to be thoughtfully fit every day. And so in the spirit of staff wellness, that was a great opportunity for her to come and share with us. And so as we move forward, we will pause and think and then act. That's information we received from Darcy. I talked a little bit about my vision for this year is to continue to focus on safety, student and staff wellness, certainly academic achievement, and also the referendum that's coming forward. I will focus my energies there. I will say thanks to Brian and his team, we have fulfilled our Title IX requirements with the training that we needed to provide to staff. Thanks to Attorney Ron Statler, who came and presented that information to our staff. So that went over real well. We still have a video we need to look at. Then once we complete the video, we print our certificates and give them to you, Brian, right? To say that we completed our Title IX training. Transportation flow at Heritage and the Intermediate. There are more signs than anybody can envision out there. But we wanted to make sure that it flowed properly, and I've received some really good feedback about that. And thanks to the Bethel staff who went out on Tuesday morning to help direct traffic and make sure our parents are going in the directions that they needed to go in. So that went over well. Just a quick report on new teachers. We had a total of 30 new teachers this year. 5 at Prairie, 3 at Heritage, 1 at Arboretum. 2 at Intermediate, 13 at the middle school, and that the new schedule at the middle school served as the impetus for that, including 4 new roles because of the schedule. At high school, we had 4. We have an occupational therapist supporting our 5th through 12th grade population, and then 1 district-wide literacy position. And so for a total of 30, we still look to fill some of our paraprofessional roles in the SPED department, 1 bilingual paraprofessional, and then we have 1 custodian we still need to hire. So that's just a little update on where we are with staffing. And I just want to say thank you to all of the Bethel staff members who got out in schools on the first day of school to make sure that everything flowed and went well. So week 2, here we go. And that is my report.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to congratulate whoever was behind all the signage at the intermediate school. I'm a visual learner. And also that extra turn lane for intermediate versus heritage. It's really well done, really well done.
Yeah.
And thank you to Mr. Andy for the communication piece, for getting the communication out. But we walked that path a couple times. Steve was out with us, and so we just wanted to make sure that it landed in a way where everyone could do what they needed to do. So thank you for that.
Good. Yeah, and I appreciate all that Jack has done to facilitate getting that path in. That is awesome. You know, I walked that and I watched the kids and the crossing guards. Steve, you have really beat the bush and got more crossing guards. I mean, they're like at every corner there. It's great. I mean,
And they're smiling.
And they're smiling, and they even help me. They even help the old people across, which I really like. So it's yeah, it looks like it's all going well. So
Good.
thank you to lots of people. Moving on to committee reports, starting with budget.
We met we met on the 3rd, and we talked about major point of discussion was just the declining fund balance. We talked about that. We talked about maintenance projects and so forth as well. Steve, if you'd like to add anything to that?
Sure, thank you, Jack. So one of the action items coming out of the Budget Committee is on your screen. It's allocation of capital maintenance equipment expenses between Funds 10 and 49. So just to share some background on this, at the Budget Committee meeting, we went through the treasurer's report, talked about all of the funds for the district and what the ending balances are, and shared with the committee that there is an opportunity, if the board wants to utilize it, to allocate capital maintenance funds that are currently expensed in Fund 10 towards Fund 49 instead. And for members of the public, Fund 10 is our general fund. Fund 49 is our referendum-approved capital expenditure project. What we see on the screen in front of you tonight is the referendum question that was approved by the public in November of '22. That referendum question does give the board the legal authority to expense capital maintenance and equipment projects in Fund 49, as well as Fund 10 as an option. We discussed the ending balances, of course, with Funds 10 and Fund 49. Fund 49 has a balance that is doing very well because of the interest earnings that have been earned on the borrowings to date. We do have the ability to move $998,000 towards Fund 49. We would utilize a portion of the additional interest earnings that have been earned to date in Fund 49. And so there are funds available in 49. And one advantage to allocating these expenses to Fund 49 is it would increase our fund balance in Fund 10 by that dollar amount of $998,000. After reviewing this issue, there's a couple of takeaways from the Budget Committee. The first one is the committee is going to schedule another meeting in early October, and we're going to be reviewing our Fund 10 budget closely. We're going to take a look at our fund balance policy in Fund 10, take a look and see whether the fund balance policy is where the board would like it to be at today. We're going to look at some of the Fund 10 costs that occurred during the audit that caused the balance to be negative. And so we're going to come back to that topic in October. But for now, what's in front of the entire board is a recommendation from the Budget Committee on a 3-0 motion to allocate the $998,003 of capital maintenance expenditures and equipment expenditures from Fund 10 to Fund 49, which will improve the balance in Fund 10 and utilize a portion of the additional interest earned in Fund 49. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions that board members have, or you're welcome to ask the committee members as well about the recommendation in front of you tonight.
If not, we would need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. And that was the only thing.
There's
on
one
the
other.
budget.
One more.
There's one more.
Okay.
The communication.
So the second item that we're looking for board discussion on tonight is the operational referendum communication plan. So at the Budget Committee meeting, we spent some time looking at some draft documents that have been prepared. One of them was a draft timeline, which included all of the events that we are planning to participate in through the election date. You can see in the timeline there's a number of meetings that are occurring both internally within the district as well as externally, ranging from staff meetings to community virtual meetings, community in-person meetings, community open forums at locations like the Village Center, M&Ms, group meetings like Rotary, Lions. There's a wide variety of items or events that we are planning to attend. If board members think that there's anything that we're missing that you're aware of, we'd be happy to certainly add more to our timeline. So if after you have a chance to look at it, let us know if there's anything you think we should be considering. You would also see on the attachment, yeah, Ally, would you mind opening that one up?
Question for the events.
Yep.
Would you want board members to participate with you in any of those events?
So it's certainly open to board member participation. We know you all have very busy schedules, and we have to do these events at the times that the groups are available. So if you get a chance to take a look at that and there is an event that fits in your schedule, you're absolutely welcome to participate and join us. It's certainly not something that we're saying we have to have a board member at every event, but you're absolutely welcome if your schedule permits.
Do we need to coordinate ahead of time in the event that too many of us show up and it would need to be publicly announced in some other format, or?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yep, I would say if there is interest in participating, maybe just send Rebecca a note that you're going to be at particular events, and she can keep track of it in the event that there's multiple board members attending. She can be aware of that. Couple of things that we wanted to get your feedback on tonight. So the first one in front of you, we're going to first of all talk about the topic of community-wide mailings. So in front of you tonight, there is a community-wide mailing. And first, we're looking for input from the board on whether or not you want to continue with our practice of community-wide mailing. So in 2020, when we had an operational referendum question without a capital question, we sent 2 mailings out to the community. In 2022, we sent 3 mailings out to the community when we had a capital question and an operational question. So in front of you, you would see what we have suggested for our first mailing. So one piece of feedback we're looking for from the board is, are you willing to invest in community-wide mailings? And if you are, we can follow the 2 mailing format from 2020, or we can follow a 3 mailing format from 2022. And then the second piece of feedback that, as board members, I think many of you did receive public comment about the way the financial information is being presented. So I'll call your attention to the flyer, or the community mailer that we put in front of you tonight. And if you look at the graph that includes the tax levy impact, so the graph is on the back.
It's on the back.
What you would see on the graph in the back is the tax levy impact from both a yes vote and a no vote. So the feedback that we did receive from a community member was that we should articulate both options. So if a community member votes yes, they would know what the tax impact is. If they vote no, they would know what the tax impact is. So what you see on that flyer does reflect that feedback. And so we've put that together so that you can see as a board member what that would look like. Allie had on the screen as well what the version of that graph would look like without including the vote yes and vote no option. So right there. So this shows what the tax impact would be with the yes vote. The flyer shows both a yes vote and a no vote. So we're really looking for your feedback tonight, because I know that I think most of you probably did hear from a community member about that issue. Do you prefer the way we put it together on the flyer? Does that concern you? And thoughts on 2 versus 3 flyers? At this point, I'll throw it open to board members to add any feedback or thoughts regarding this topic.
My concern on this, I can go along with this one, but I think we need an asterisk underneath the no vote, and something to the effect of,
What happens?
this results in 12% reduction in revenues. Something that simple, but I mean, I don't know a business that could deal with a 12% loss in revenues effectively. And I think that part, if we do this, I think we need to include that asterisk.
So would you prefer a percentage, so like the 8.1 of this fall's budget to show what the percentage of the loss in revenue
I
would be?
think the percentage is a starker number. 8.1 sounds like a lot, but to understand how much impact that is, I think the percentage would be the best way to go.
Okay.
I agree. And I was gonna say, it wasn't just that one community member, the subject matter was pretty hot in social media too. So to an earlier question about the mailings, I'll kind of repeat part of what I had said in the budget meeting, which is that I think at least one physical mailer is absolutely necessary. And then in the realm of reaching people, that reach can actually be measured, that I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there's a social media aspect of communication back when the capital referendum was out there, but definitely to make sure that that happens this time around, or, take it further. And then with that element, I don't think personally that we need I agree with everything you just said, by the way, yeah. I don't think we need to have 3 mailers. I think minimally 1, I'd be cool with 2, and I don't think we need 3.
What does the mailer cost?
Annie, is it a little north of 5,000? Yeah, it's a little north of 5,000 per mailer.
I think if we're gonna do a mailer, 1 is probably sufficient.
So, tacking on to what Mark said, and I agree, I think we do absolutely need a mailer. But up here where it says vote no, we have to, a no vote, there has to be information about what that's going to mean for the livelihood of our district. A tax consequence just doesn't tell a story. I mean, this has to be a more complete story, and an asterisk on the bottom I don't think is enough. We need some information up there, what a no vote means.
So additional work above on both the, in that area about yes and no. Obviously, the flyer, excuse me, in and of itself describes what a yes vote would do.
Right.
Which is the 3 components.
Right.
But we can certainly provide more clarity on what the no vote would mean as far as funding for the district, just to make sure it's clear.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing that there's a general willingness to show it in the form that the graph shows, which is both the yes and the no, but just make sure it's more clear on what the implications of that are. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
I don't know, some will be tied to, the questionnaires that you send out to the community, they value all of these things, right? Of that, this is what, that is impacting that. If you
Right.
value small class sizes, if you value support for teachers, that's what that's doing. I don't know how you can condense that into something that small, but that's what it kind of goes for.
Okay.
Explain.
So for now, we'll focus on the 1 mailer, and Annie and Ally and I and Dr. Brown can take another crack at it to kind of clarify the no vote piece. And we will work on that this week. And then the other thing, just to share with you as far as what we're putting in front of you, is a draft of the presentation that we are intending to utilize during our presentations. I know you're just seeing it tonight because we just finished it up today. If you notice anything that you think should be improved or that we're missing, just feel free to send us an email. We'll probably be making changes as we go, as we present this to various groups. We just wanted to get it in front of you tonight. So if anything crosses your mind after you get a chance to take a look at it, we'd be happy to make any revisions that you think would be an improvement to the presentation. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Moving on to facility committee meetings. We just have a couple things in that meeting that we need to bring to the full board. One is a list of additional subcontractors for the middle school. And they are there. I don't know if you want to pull them up, Ally. There's just a few that we are still looking at, kind of bringing us down to landscaping, which means we're getting to the end of the list.
And the committee did recommend approval of this list on a 3-0 motion.
Yes, we did. So I would need a motion unless somebody has any questions about any of the subcontractors.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And the other one is consideration of some capital projects, and again, this was approved by 3-0 motion. And again, there are just a few items.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay. Any other comments you want to make about the facility committee?
Sure, just quickly for members of the public to know that we did provide some information to the committee on the topic of the Inflation Reduction Act and the possibility of the district putting in a claim for a reimbursement from the federal government for the systems that are being built at the new middle school. And so that discussion took place at both the facility committee as well as at the budget committee, and the board is continuing to evaluate that topic. It's very likely the community will see that topic coming back in October at the regular board meeting.
Thank you, Steve. Moving on to policy committee.
We have quite a list of policies that we are looking for approval on. I don't know if you want to pull up the matrix or the spreadsheet. There's two different ones, some 400 series and then, well, the Title IX issues, kind of keeping them separate. I don't know if you'd like them gone over individually or like we've done in the past, if you have specific comments on any of them.
Could I make a comment, Ted?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that you pulled the 751, our general who do we bus policy, and it was tabled for the future, tabled for business services closer review. So I don't think it's here for us to vote on tonight.
Yeah, we had an issue, I can't remember the specific issue, we're gonna look into a little bit more, wanted some wording. Do you recall, Steve?
Yeah, so the recommendation from the School Board Association was to replace ours with their version. And Ally and I wanted the opportunity, again, because the board voted on it in August to make the change for all three elementary schools to have the mile. Because the recommendation was to do a replace and go with a new policy, we wanted to make sure that we'd have the opportunity to go through it very carefully so that all the unique elements in our policy would carry over to the new one. And so we tabled it to ask for more time. However, since that has occurred, another issue has come up with that main transportation policy that I think you were going to bring up tonight.
Yeah, so a concern that I know we have all received communication about, and Steve has done a lot of work with this family, but it isn't just this family. It seems to come up every year that there are extenuating circumstances that are interfering with the kids getting to school easily. And I think personally, and I've had a conversation with Steve about this, our current policy is very black and white, and I appreciate that Steve has administered it for years in a very black and white fashion. But is there kind of any thoughts around the table of maybe giving some leeway in Steve's assessment for situations that are extenuating? I mean, I think the case that we've been seeing, the children, the fact that the bus is already stopping there, the mother has some kind of medical issues with documentation and interviewing and assessment. I know that it occurs in many of our policies, that there is administration that has some assessment that can override some of the black and whiteness of the policy. And as you review that, is there interest on the table to also look at maybe giving some discretionary way for Steve to kind of look at the cases one by one? I think ultimately our goal should be provide and get as many students to school as possible. And I'm afraid that when we maintain just black and white, some of our families have so many struggles, our kids aren't always going to get to school.
Creates barriers.
The administration preference be to have a disclaimer at administration discretion, or that we would put in language along the lines of our open enrollment when it comes to siblings. So if there's a sibling that falls under a different rule, that the older sibling would then be allowed to have the younger siblings. Benefits is the wrong word, but
You know, I actually thought of that also, Dawn, but then, in this particular case, this family, next year, would be in the same boat. Because
their 4K student wouldn't be at 4K anymore, so.
No, but then none of them would get on the bus.
Correct.
Correct. And is there need, because of the distance, I mean, it's right on that border.
They would fall into the elementary school rule.
Yes. Mark?
Whether it's this case or others, I mean, I looked at this particular situation from 3 different approaches, and in all 3, they don't meet the mileage criteria. But in the same breath, I'm watching the news on Madison, who has a much more challenging one, and I'm seeing kids crossing Stoughton Road to get to Senate Middle School during morning traffic, because they didn't qualify for that. And it hit me with that, and I don't, as much as we have one of the more lenient busing policies in Dane County, if not the most lenient, I think there are situations where some families are truly burdened because of health issues or economic issues. And if we can give our administration the flexibility, if that's what they want, to make those distinctions, I think we can serve the public better than it being a rigid black and white rule. If you have a single parent family and you've got health issues with how do you get your kids to school?
Exactly.
I mean, there are a number of those, and I don't think you're talking 30, 40, 50 situations, but I think our administration, if they're willing to do this, could have a really positive effect on our community.
Could it be,
Go ahead.
could it be done with enough consistency that it's, you know, you're gonna do this exception or something, does the same exception or a similar scenario apply? Same way, you know, it's just how do you maintain that consistency?
And
It may open up some can of worms, I don't know.
it may, and I
I think
don't
the,
know.
you know, instead of us piecemealing this, you know, what we've talked about is really looking at their overall transportation policy, and this should be part of that. You know, I think as a board, what we do is we take these situations and we say, okay, let's approve it here, and then we take another situation and approve it here, and we don't look at the holistic, you know, program. And I think if we're gonna make these exceptions, let's look at it when we look at the overall transportation policy. That would be my recommendation.
My concern with that, and Jack, I absolutely agree. I think our whole busing, who we bus, the transfer bus, the release of kids early to get on that bus, there's a whole host of things that I think we owe our community to study and to do better at. But that takes a lot of time. And I think we have some situations that are occurring right now that I don't want to minimize their needs and getting kids to school as often as possible. But I want to do that study that you just described, because I think we owe it to everybody to look at the broad picture of how we bus and who we bus.
So what we would be able to do with that, Joan, is because we were going to bring that back to the next policy committee meeting anyways. So Ally and I need a little bit of time to just take a very close look at what the WSB is recommending compared to what we currently have, and we were gonna put that on the agenda, we could go through that with the policy committee and highlight that if there was an interest in looking at something like that, where it could go,
Yeah.
and what type of exception would we want to consider. I think to Ted's point, it would need to be clear, and I think Dr. Brown made the point last week that we would want some type of documentation to go with it.
Correct.
So it would probably be something along the lines of a medical hardship, a financial hardship, a language barrier. There's certainly things that we would be able to look at. And I actually had a teacher email me on Friday with a similar situation, asked, is there anything in your policy that lets the administration make an exception? And I said, no, but the topic is being discussed. So it's more than just that one family. But I think we would have the ability to construct something that's clear and that comes with some requirement for the family to submit a request. And I don't think it's gonna be 50 per year. I think it's gonna be probably less than 10. Because someone would have to be willing to put in the request and put some documentation in. Other things that could be considered by the committee would be not altering a bus route is an option. So you could say to a family, as an example, they would need to walk to an existing bus route with space available. And if that was the case, there would be no financial impact to the district. So let's say the family we're referencing, if their 4K student went on to kindergarten and the route was, 2 streets to the north, they would have to walk there to get onto that bus to get to school. That's another consideration.
Well, if we're willing to kind of at least look at it, I would love it if it could go to policy for next month with your advice and, and see if we can't be a little bit more accommodating with a few of the cases.
I'm still interested in the cost too. If we were to shorten the high school and middle school to 1 mile like the elementary schools.
Okay, that's just my aside. Ted, now you can.
Were there any other questions?
There were a couple.
Great job there, Ted.
Yeah,
Great discussion.
there were actually a couple where I think you just need to clean up the language. It says like supervisor instead of contractor, and there were a few other, it was changed sometimes I read, and then it wasn't, and I made notes, but I lost my notes. Anyway,
So you noticed that like in the comments they had, but then you went and checked that and you saw some that wasn't changing? That's what
it
you're
wasn't,
saying?
so like I did find one that I made a note, 751.3, it wasn't changed in that one. And I thought there was one other one I saw it wasn't changed. But Rebecca's pretty good at finding those.
Yeah, we caught some of them as well, so we didn't catch them all. Look at that thing. So did we want to separate them out?
Certainly one option is to take all of what you see on the screen, which was the 700 ones that we got through with the WASB's recommendation, and then on the far right, you saw the administrative and committee recommendation. One way to break this up is to tackle this group first, which was really the process the board's been going through of really updating the policies according to the spreadsheet. It could make sense to just tackle that one as a group and then come back to some of the others.
Make the recommendation that we follow the same process that we've done in the past and approve what's on the spreadsheet
Second.
as presented.
Any questions on any of the, I think they're almost all transportation. All in favor of approving this whole list, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Great. And then we have the Title IX ones.
And I'm not sure if we'd like Brian to come up to talk, if there's any questions that we'd like to direct to him, being our expert on Title IX.
Just the only thing I would add is that we kind of did, it's more than Title IX. It'd be harassment and discrimination, which extends, it covers a number of the federal laws, but some of these did wait specifically for Title IX, the revamp of the language, even though they also covered other federal laws.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the Committee on the Title IX policies.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Great.
Thank you.
Keep working through
Who are we
them.
thankful, and I guess as a policy committee, but, I mean, this is really great board development. I mean,
Reading all
we're right
policies.
there with all of our policies, and it's,
I know, the review of everything has been wonderful.
I just think Ted's leadership has been wonderful on this.
Yes.
Oh, there's
Thank you, Ted.
He doesn't bring treats to the committee, but otherwise he's really good.
He did one time, I know he did.
Oh, yeah, one time.
All right, I think that ends our committee reports. Moving on to administrative reports. Any announcements or correspondence?
There aren't any announcements.
And so we just have a resolution on temporary borrowing that, Steve, you want to chat about?
Sure, so first of all, thanks to the board for being willing to propose last year that we could move the annual meeting to August. Moving the annual meeting to August gives us the authority to do the cash flow borrowing. It makes things function much better on a cash flow basis to be able to do this in September as opposed to October. What you see in front of you is a resolution authorizing temporary borrowing, and so for members of the public, what that means is funds that are being borrowed only for this school year to basically get the school district through the peaks and valleys of the cash flow in our typical cycle. So in a school district, our revenues come in very sporadically at very specific times of the year, but our expenditures are very consistent. So an example of that, state aid comes in large dollar amounts only a few times a year. Property taxes come in larger dollar amounts a few times a year. This borrowing allows the district to bridge the gap between when those funds come in and when the expenditures are needed. We do separate out the repayment of last year's borrowing is kept separate from the new year's borrowing, which is a good fiscal practice to have in place. What we have in front of you tonight is consideration of a resolution authorizing temporary borrowing in an amount not to exceed $13.2 million. Just to note, this is what's called a parameters resolution, meaning we don't have in front of you tonight the actual bids on the borrowing, but what we have in front of you tonight is a request to participate in the borrowing. And if you go to the next page, Allie, for just a moment, you can see there is an authorization section and there's a process included in here that describes what would need to occur in order for the borrowing to actually take place. There's an interest rate referenced in here of 6%, meaning that the borrowing, you can see Allie's got it on the screen right there. The note shall bear interest at a rate that does not exceed 6%. So in the event that interest rates, as an example, go sideways on us and end up being quite a bit more expensive, we would not have the legal authority to sign off on this. We'd have to get the board back together. And that did happen one year where we had to get the board back together and take another look at it. So the conditions of the borrowing are outlined in the resolution. This is a joint borrowing that multiple districts participate in. The point of doing that is to spread the costs out across multiple districts so that we're sharing the issuance costs, which in the end just reduces the cost for all of the schools that participate in this program. So we're seeking approval of the parameters resolution. We would be asking for a roll call vote for your consideration so we can record everyone's vote for the paperwork that needs to go back to Quarles and Brady. Mark?
Steve, two questions. One, do we receive a lump sum or is it a laddered loan? And
So-
then is the payback the same?
Yep, so this borrowing would be a lump sum, so the total amount comes back to us. And then next year, when we pay it back, the entire amount is paid back. We do receive a very large property tax payment in the middle of August. And basically, the majority of that is set aside to pay off the prior year's borrowing.
Thank you.
What do you anticipate interest rates on this?
So we would expect interest rates to be in the 5% range right now. The
It'll all
Fed
net in.
is expected to drop rates during the month of September. What we would think we're gonna be in, maybe a little bit under 5, but in that range.
How does this compare to last year's?
So the dollar amount is slightly higher. I believe off the top of my head, Ally, was it like 12.7? 12.6 last year, so slightly higher. Typically, the dollar amount does increase by a marginal amount every year as the overall district budget becomes higher. The cash flow gap just slightly becomes higher. And so as time goes on, the amounts just continue to really keep track with the overall district budget.
The interest rate was 5%.
Okay, thanks. Ally said the rate last year was 5%.
Motion to approve?
Second?
And we need roll call. Mark?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
Katie? Aye. And myself, yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Moving on to consent agenda. There's quite a few things in here. If there are any questions or you can pull anything out.
Motion to approve.
Jack needs to refrain.
I'd like to pull the staff changes, the staff stuff out, and then we can
We'll
go
vote on
forward
that
with the others.
separate.
Which one?
Yeah.
The staff
Or he's
changes,
voting himself in
because
Staff
he has
changes,
to.
co-curricular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the raise, right?
Actually, let's just pull out the co-curricular one,
Yeah.
because you can vote on the other one. So
Well, I'm
let's-
in the staff change as well, so I'm in both of those.
Oh.
So I want to
Okay,
pull
them
both
all
of those.
both out. Okay, you're right. Okay, so we're going to pull out the staff
Sorry, I'm
changes.
proud.
With those being pulled out?
So you
made the motion to
and-
approve with those being pulled out.
And Ted, you second? Okay, so all in favor of everything except the staff changes, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. And now we will vote on the staff changes.
Motion to approve.
Second?
And-
Abstain.
And you're going to abstain, and all in favor, say aye.
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 And Jack abstain.
Abstain.
Okay.
Who said yes in first and
sorry.
second? Katie and,
I said, I made the motion.
I did it on the first, and then I
I
think.
did on a second.
okay, so
Dawn.
Katie did the first, did both, okay.
Got something down there, Judy?
Well, I'm supposed to be Rebecca.
You look kind of, no. Okay, future
I
agendas.
was wondering why you were so stressed.
Can't keep up.
Future meetings? What do we need? Anything?
So, Ally, were we gonna have Rebecca take care of this after? Yeah, we're gonna ask Rebecca when she gets back to coordinate some of these meetings at a later point,
Okay.
when she's got everybody's calendar. But we do know that the budget committee and the facility committee, we will be asking to meet in early October. So Rebecca will reach out with times to everybody as far as how that would work. Tim, didn't know if it was Brian, did you want HR to meet? Okay.
And Tim, he'll get to us if he wants to see us. Okay, so,
Yeah, we have a tentative calendar. It's draft form, but we were looking at September 26th. I may be gone at that time, so I don't know what we can do to modify that with their schedule, so I'll
Work on that. Okay.
That's curriculum, Mark? Mark, is that curriculum, that's curriculum?
I'm sorry?
Is that curriculum,
Curriculum,
correct?
yes.
Okay, I just want, I'm trying to
That's right.
connect, still put people with committees, or not.
Okay, so that ends this part, but we are going to go back into closed session, so we'll ask.
Motion to approve open session.
We need to return to close, and then we'll adjourn.
Do we have to get out of open and return, or can we just go
No,
right to?
I just need a motion. I was just going to let them leave, and then we'll take a motion to go into close.
So, who,
We didn't do anything yet. Jack is ready, but we're going to let them exit. It's a casual night.
I just need your signature on this one and this one, and
Is
then
the
can you
recording
give to
turned off?
Joan? Thank you.
He is, I'm waiting for.
Waiting for the motion.
I'm waiting for the motion because I'm waiting for,
And Tim, did Tim,
You need this stuff,
we do
no.
not.